You're not Facebook's customer. You never were. And that $13.24 billion they made last year, 98% came from selling you. In 2023, Meta, the company that owns Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, generated $34 billion in revenue. That's more than the GDP of Hungary, more than Nike, Coca-Cola, and Netflix combined. And here's the part that should make you uncomfortable. 98% of that money came from a single source. Not subscriptions, not selling products, not even selling data, despite what everyone thinks. They sell something far more valuable. And you've been giving it to them for free every single day. Let me show you how it actually works. In 2004, Mark Zuckerberg launched a website from his Harvard dorm room. It was called The Facebook. No ads, no business model. Just a digital yearbook where college kids could rate each other's photos. Within 24 hours, 200 students had signed up. Within a month, half of Harvard's undergraduate population was on it. But here's what most people forget. Facebook lost money for years. And in 2007, 3 years after launch, the company burned through millions with no clear path to profitability. Investors were nervous. Zuckerberg needed a model that could scale infinitely without requiring physical inventory, manufacturing, or traditional labor costs. He found it by asking one simple question: what do we actually have? The answer wasn't the website, it was attention. Billions of hours of human attention, voluntarily given, meticulously tracked, and infinitely renewable. And then he figured out who would pay for it. Here's how the machine works. Every time you open Facebook, you're not just browsing, you're generating data. What you click, how long you pause on a post, which faces you look at in photos, whether you hover over an ad, whether you watch a video to completion or scroll past in 3 seconds, the time of day, your location, your device, whether you're on Wi-Fi or cellular. Every single micro interaction is recorded, cataloged, and analyzed. Now, Facebook doesn't sell this data to advertisers. That's the common misconception. If they sold your data, they'd lose their competitive advantage. Instead, they do something more sophisticated. They sell access. A clothing brand doesn't get your information. They tell Facebook, "We want to reach women aged 25 to 34 who recently got engaged, live in urban areas, have shown interest in sustainable fashion, and have a household income above $75,000. Facebook's algorithm goes to work. It scans its 3 billion users and finds the exact people matching that profile. Then it shows them the ad. The brand never sees your name, your email, or your data. They just get results. And they pay Facebook every time someone sees or clicks that ad. This is the model. Hyper-targeted advertising at planetary scale. Let's talk numbers. In Q4 of 2023, Facebook made an average of $55.48 per user in the United States and Canada. That's not per year, that's per quarter. Multiply that by 4, and the average American or Canadian user generated about $20.20 in ad revenue for Meta in a single year. In Europe, it's lower, around $84 per user annually. In Asia Pacific, even lower, but scale makes up for it. With 3 billion active users globally, even small amounts compound into staggering totals. Here's where it gets interesting. You don't pay anything to use Facebook, so where does that 2020 come from? Advertisers. Tens of millions of them. From global corporations spending billions to local dentists spending $500 a month, they're all bidding in real time for your attention. Every time you scroll, there's an invisible auction happening. Thousands of advertisers competing to show you their message. The highest bidder wins. Facebook takes the money. You see the ad, Facebook keeps the cash. And because the algorithm knows you better than you know yourself, those ads work. The system is built on something called the attention economy. The longer you stay on the platform, the more ads you see. The more ads you see, the more money Facebook makes. So the entire architecture of Facebook, the infinite scroll, the notification badges, the autoplay videos, the suggested posts from pages you don't follow, is engineered to keep you there, not because they want to connect you with friends. Because every additional minute you spend is worth money. In 2021, internal documents leaked from a Facebook whistleblower revealed something disturbing. The company's own research showed that Instagram, which Meta also owns, made body image issues worse for 1 in 3 teenage girls. The research was clear, the harm was documented, but the platform's design didn't change. Because changing it would mean less engagement. Less engagement means fewer ads. Fewer ads means less money. The algorithm doesn't optimize for your well-being. It optimizes for your time, and time, in this model, is the product. Let's zoom out. Facebook's model isn't unique anymore. Google does it, TikTok does it, YouTube does it, Twitter tried before it imploded. The entire infrastructure of the modern internet is built on this same foundation, free access in exchange for attention, which is then sold to advertisers. But Facebook perfected it first, and they did it by making one crucial realization early on. People will give you their data if you make it social. You're not just scrolling through content. You're seeing what your friends are doing. You're getting validation through likes. You're staying connected to people you'd otherwise lose touch with. The platform wraps surveillance in the language of community. That's the genius of it and the trap. Now let's talk about the money more directly. Meta's profit margin in 2023 was around 29%, and that means for every dollar the company made, it kept 29 cents as profit after all expenses. For context, that's higher than most traditional businesses. Walmart's profit margin is about 2%. Airlines operate on margins of 5 to 10% if they're lucky. Why is Meta's margin so high? Because once the infrastructure is built, the cost of acquiring one more user is almost nothing. There's no physical product to manufacture, no warehouse to stock, no delivery truck. You just show them an ad. The marginal cost of scaling is near zero. That means nearly infinite profitability as long as people keep using the platform. This is why Zuckerberg fought so hard to stay free. A subscription model would work, sure, but it would shrink the user base, and in advertising, scale is everything. 1 billion users generating $10 each is less valuable than 3 billion users generating $50 each. More users mean better data. Better data means better targeting. Better targeting means advertisers pay more. The bigger the network, the more powerful the machine. But there's a crack forming. In 2021, Apple released iOS 14.5, which included a feature called App Tracking Transparency. It forced apps to ask users for permission before tracking them across other apps and websites. Most people said no. Meta's stock dropped. The company estimated it would lose $10 in revenue that year because of Apple's change. Why? Because suddenly Facebook couldn't track you as well. The ads became less targeted. Advertisers saw worse results. They paid less. The machine slowed down. Meta's response was furious. Zuckerberg publicly accused Apple of anti-competitive behavior. But the real issue was deeper. For the first time, the attention economy hit a wall. Users were starting to realize they had leverage. They could say no. And when they did, the entire model wobbled. Then came the metaverse. In 2021, Facebook rebranded to Meta and announced a pivot toward virtual reality. Zuckerberg claimed the future of human interaction would take place in immersive digital worlds. The company poured tens of billions into building it. In 2023 alone, Meta's Reality Labs division lost $16 billion. Why the desperation to build a new platform? Because Facebook knows something uncomfortable. The attention economy is fragile. Trends shift. Younger users are leaving for TikTok. Regulators in Europe are tightening privacy laws. Apple and Google control the mobile operating systems that Facebook depends on. And if people stop using Facebook, the entire $13.4 billion empire collapses. The metaverse was supposed to be the escape hatch, a new platform Meta would control entirely. No Apple, no Google, just Zuckerberg's rules. But nobody showed up. The metaverse became a punchline, and Facebook went back to what it does best, selling your attention. Here's the uncomfortable part. You probably think you're immune to ads. Most people do. You scroll past them, you ignore them, you think they don't work on you. But they do. Meta's algorithms don't need you to consciously engage with an ad for it to be effective. Studies show that simply seeing a brand name increases the likelihood you'll choose it later. The ad doesn't have to persuade you in the moment, it just has to lodge itself in your subconscious. And with billions of impressions per day, that effect compounds. You're not the customer. You're the product, but you're also the audience, and the audience always thinks it's in control. It never is. So what happens next? Meta is facing pressure from every direction. Regulators in the EU are pushing for stricter data laws. The Federal Trade Commission in the US has filed antitrust lawsuits. TikTok is winning the war for younger users, and artificial intelligence is creating new uncertainties both as a tool Meta can use to improve targeting and as a potential disruptor that could make traditional social media obsolete. But here's what hasn't changed: the model. As long as people crave connection, validation, and distraction, there will be a platform ready to provide it. And as long as there's attention, there will be someone willing to pay for it. Facebook's genius wasn't inventing social media. It was figuring out how to monetize human behavior at scale. They turned relationships into data, data into targeting, targeting into billions, and the entire system runs on one simple truth: you'll keep coming back. So the next time you open the app and scroll through your feed, ask yourself this: who's using who?